The ABCs of horror.
Welcome to the HellBound Horror Show. This marks 2 days in a row of Asian-inspired cinema. Yesterday we took a look at a powerful, vengeful grudge, and honestly tonight we don't stray too far from that theme at all. It's a theme that we know all too well in the Necronomicon. 1968's Kuroneko. I'm the first to admit that I don't know a ton about Japanese culture or history, although I do find it very interesting. From the reading that I did online, it seems that Japanese cinema was just a little bit behind the Americans. And I'm speaking very generally, of course, so if there are exceptions, I apologize. It seemed that Japanese culture wasn't as concerned about the newest and hottest innovations like the Americans were. In Japan, 1/3 of the movies that were released in 1938 were still silent films. In contrast, America released Robbin Hood in 1938, and The Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind in 1939. To me, that's vastly different landscapes. The 40s weren't kind to Japan. It's safe to say that entertainment was not their number one priority. However, the cinema rose from the ashes in the 50s and gave birth to some of Japan's first horror films. One of the first attempts at the genre was Godzilla. Another early staple was Onibaba. I still haven't seen Onibaba, but I understand the cultural significance it had, as well as the popularity it had, even in the West. Onibaba is a classic, and if you're a horror fan, odds are you've seen this mask before, even if you've never heard of Onibaba. Onibaba was directed by Kaneto Shindo, who would later direct 1968's Kuroneko, which literally translates to Black Cat. I want to say that I haven't seen a ton of Japanese films, but I have seen a ton of kaiju films. Like, I've seen a lot of the Godzilla movies and almost all of the Gamera films. I've also seen just a handful of the early 2000s Japanese horror films, such as Ju-on the Grudge, Cairo, which is Pulse, and Audition. But outside of that, I'm not too familiar with Japanese films, and that's why I was super excited to sit down and finally watch Kuroneko. I went in blind, so I didn't really know what to expect from this film. The story is an old folk tale and takes place during the Heian period in Japan during the Civil War. For anyone who doesn't know their Japanese history, the Heian period is basically the last division of classical Japanese history. It's a time of samurai, swords, and horse riding. The story takes no time to get going at all. We see Japanese samurai walking out of the high grass to a little cottage. The men are rugged and dirty. They drink the water, eat the food, and when they go in and see two women, the samurai each take their turn raping them. Once everyone gets their fair share, they leave the bodies behind, and of course, they leave a fire behind to burn the house down, killing everyone inside. We see from the rubble a black cat walking through. What a sad and devastating opening. But the movie does have my full attention at this point, so bravo. We cut to a samurai walking by a gate when he notices a woman dressed in a flowy dress. She does not want to walk home alone, so she asks the samurai to accompany her. We get a slow walk through the bamboo forest. There is something off about this, but the conversation that they have seems normal for the most part, which gets our guard down. Then there's little camera tricks like when she walks over a puddle, it seems like she floats over it. Not to mention that we keep hearing a cat in the distance. Once she gets home, she offers him to come inside, so he does. Inside is an older woman, and they sit down and have a conversation. The younger lady is married to a man who was sent off to war, never to be seen again. The older woman is the mother to that man who was sent off to war. Both live together, waiting to see him return someday. The samurai assures them that the son/husband is probably fine, even though he has nothing to back up his claims. The mother leaves, and the samurai, now drunk off sake, is chasing the girl around and advancing on her. Until this scene is great. It plays with the notion that we saw these two women earlier in the film. The tension is great, and the whole time we wonder if something is actually going to happen or not. We then see that night after night, the ladies bring samurai back to their house just to kill them. This part does get repetitive, but it's important for setting up stuff that will happen later in the film. I also failed to mention that we're not even 30 minutes into the movie. I was watching the film asking myself, where do they even go from here? Now the leader of the samurai is upset that his men are being killed off by some ghosts. He wants a way to end it all and to stop these spirits. We then cut to a guy running for his life in a marshy area. He's running from this big, hulking dude with a spiked club. Eventually, he's able to seize an opportunity and kill the brute. When he returns to the battlefield, he sees that everyone is dead. So he rides his horse back to his city. Once there, he shows the head of the opposing army general and is instantly a hero and promoted to samurai. This guy is a likable character, and he's actually really good at what he does. And since he's a war hero, the leader of the samurai commands him to kill the ghosts. However, when this hero finally gets to return home to see his wife and to see his mother, he finds his home cottage burned down, and he can't find them anywhere. Our hero is tasked with killing the ghost, and the ghosts have been killing every samurai. We have this unstoppable force versus this immovable object. It's set up so beautifully, and the tension is so thick. I didn't know what was going to happen next. And that's the great part about Kuroneko. It isn't your traditional American film. It's not overly predictable if you're used to Western cinema. And it does a great job at averting expectations. There's a ton more to the story, but I just wanted to stop it here. Kuroneko was a pleasant surprise, and it's no wonder why it's part of the Criterion Collection. It's a masterpiece, and it honestly holds up fairly well. It's a beautifully chilling movie and almost made me cry at one point. It'll make you feel scared, tense, and emotional. It's hard to describe how much I adore this film. If you like a sophisticated horror movie and you don't mind black and white, then you should not miss out on this film. Kuroneko has a ton to offer, and there's a reason that it's loved across the board.